Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this video we're going to continue to work on the MGB GT to get it ready for the coming season. It's still a bit early, it's still January, but the season is getting closer and I just want to get it ready. There is quite a bit of cosmetic work to be done on this MGB GT. There's also some repairs on the body, and there will be some mechanical work we need to do, and you'll see all this in this video. It's not going to be very deep down into all the details. It's just going to give you an idea on what I need to do to get this MGB GT back onto the track. The number is changing from 99 to my favorite number, 76. I don't know why I like 76, but I do like 76. I already have repainted the front bonnet, and you've seen that in a previous video, how we fixed that. At the same time, I also fixed the rear hatch and I repainted that one. We fitted new plexiglass and a couple of other things, and I'll show you that in a few seconds. But before I go any further, I want to show you something special. And this morning I received a package from Amazon. Now, I didn't order anything on Amazon, and in the package there was a note, and here is that note. And it actually says then, Steve, thank you so much for all the videos, it really helped me out, and so on. So this is a kind of a present, a nice set of good quality screwdrivers that I got actually from one of my subscribers, Benny. So Benny, thank you very much. I don't know who you are, but this is really great. And for all my other subscribers, I'm not asking you to send me presents. You know, of course, it's a very nice gesture, but I'm not asking for this, okay? Just to make clear that there's no misunderstanding. All right, so let's have a look what we've done on this rear hatch here on the MGB GT. The rear hatch has been repainted and we decorated it with a couple of racing flags. We have the locks that is holding the rear hatch into place, and those we have cleaned up and replaced them where necessary, and we have underneath a patch to protect the paint. We also have reinstalled the locks on the top of the back hatch. I had removed the plexiglass and I have it reinstalled. Initially it was fitted with rivets, and I have drilled them out and I replaced them with those small little bolts. I think this is actually looking quite a lot better. This is one of my side windows in plexi, and as you can see we also have the same kind of bolts fitted through the plexiglass to hold it in place, and you can see the black line underneath, which gives me a nice contrast. So this is still something we need to do on the rear hatch. Now, I know all this is cosmetics, but I like a clean car. Now, also the front bonnet is back onto the car, and you can see we have now these latches back into place. Working a lot better than before, so now the bonnet is not going to flip off, and I actually have drilled a hole on the side here so I can put a split pin through it. So no more risk of having a bonnet that's going to fly open. If you race with your car, you're going to have some gravel that will fly up, because people sometimes hit the gravel pit and then it's on the racetrack and then it flies up because your slick tires, they pick that up and they throw it backwards. And this whole area right here is then getting hammered by little pieces of stone, and then you get all this damage on here. Nothing really serious, but it looks not good. So as this is a new season to race, I'm going to repaint this little area here with new white paint. And then I'm going to create a aluminum protection shield right here that I can put up that area. So it's not going to be necessary to repaint this about every year. Now, painting this will be a little bit tricky because I have to make sure it can blend in with the rest. And I'm not using clear lacquer on this car. This is pretty straightforward, simple, old-style paint. So this is what I call my rear valance, and you can see where I have the masking tape. So I already have it basically sanded down. I removed the rain light, and I also removed the toe part because I'm going to repaint this area which is masked off in really blaze orange. Yeah, a lot of people will probably declare me crazy, but I think this back part here, this rear valance, will work great in blaze orange together with this white color on the car. And in the front valance, I'm going to do exactly the same. On the exhaust, just above it, I also will install a little aluminum plate because you can see while you drive, you often get some black stuff on this paint here. So think it's better not to have that. So the car is now out of the paint booth, and as you can see, we have now a blaze orange valance in the back, of which we now need to assemble a couple more things. And as you can see, we got this black anti-slip patch here. This is great because the spring which is coming down from the back hatch to hold it in place is not going to rub against the paint anymore. It's just going to sit on this tough material. Of course, you have some stickers on it. We also mounted a FIA approved rain light, and this one is fairly large. As you can see, it's about 10 by 10 centimeters. I added a small aluminum plate on top of the exhaust because often I notice a black spot here, so this will prevent that, and I can wipe this off fairly easily. This hole right here is actually where we're going to install our tow string. This is the one. I just need to put a little metal bush inside so it sticks out a little bit, and then we put everything up, so that should be really no big issue. And of course the front valance is also orange. Same thing for the toe and some air inlets. Now here I have ducting, and this ducting actually has a tube at the back side which is going to the brakes, so this is cooling down the brake discs. We still have to install the front grille, which I could not install so far because I'm still preparing it. You might have noticed this little tube here. Well, that tube actually feeds to my carburetors. It's kind of an air duct or an air intake, and for that I need to put up this piece here. But this piece is in a pretty bad shape, so I'm not going to use it, and in fact it's a little bit too large actually to fit actually on my grille. So the grille will go here, and here I need this new cutout. Or that new insert, and have ordered that already. So I'm just awaiting it until I get it so we can assemble everything together a little bit like this, right? So, but then again, a smaller piece. The rear end is now complete, and we have the tow on, we've got our rain light on, we've got the muffler protection on the rear valance, we've got our locks in place, so the bonnet is on, and we got some stickers on it. So this is now complete. So now it's time to work on the side. The sills are typically getting quite a bit of beating because we're driving with slicks on the track, or semi-slicks, and whenever you hit the gravel, those stones are stuck onto this soft rubber on the slicks, and then when you drive it's going to fly out, and it causes chipping actually on the sills. So therefore I'm going to put some anti-gravel protection on it. Now this is not tar, this doesn't burn either, this is pretty hard stuff, so I'm going to spray it on there on the sill only, and then afterwards I'm going to paint it with orange paint. And by the way, this stuff is paintable. There's also stuff that you cannot paint, so if you plan to do this, make sure that you buy the right stuff. And then I'm going to put the black line on top where we have the white paint and the orange paint as a divider, and that will match up pretty nice with what we have actually in the back and in the front. So I already have taped off the car, and I used some old plastic for that. That I used before for the valance. Now I'm just wiping it all clean with acetone, so it's really degreased, and then I'm going to sand it maybe lightly, and then we can spray the anti-gravel onto it. Now I know the plastic looks a little bit tacky, but that's okay, I just reused it. So let's start. It's going to be a little bit noisy because I have to turn on my heat gun, because it's only about 1 degree centigrade here, and to spray that tar you need a little bit more than 1 degree, at least 10 or 15. So you shouldn't be using a hot air gun in an area that is closed, so you have to have an open space, especially if you're going to spray, because otherwise you could get an explosion, and that's the last thing you want to have. I overpainted the anti-gravel protection now on the sill with orange. So now it's time to pull it all off and then keep on working on it, because we still have to do a little bit of work on the exterior. At the line where the orange paint meets the white paint, I'm going now to apply a black stripe. But before I do so, there's a couple of other things I need to do. So what I'm going to do right here is to create an aluminum protection panel, and I'm going to do this with very thin aluminum. And this is the type of aluminum I'm going to use for that. As you can see, very thin. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to create a template in paper, and then we're going to form the aluminum. We might have to use a bending table. We also might use a English wheel to get it to inform, and we might need to use a stretcher just to get that curve right. So I'm using some thick paper, just, you know, more or less to see how I want to make it. Now in the back I'm going to trace it where the arc is. Now, probably here, I don't want to have it come that far. Most likely would like to have it coming like this. I think that should more or less do it. So, let's cut it out and see. I've cut 2 strips of the panel, so now I'm just gonna go around the contours of my template here, and then we can cut it. Alright. So the reason I've gone for some real thin aluminum is that it's really bendable, because I got a curve, and of course we want to reduce the weight. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to go for thin aluminum. It still protects it. This is the aluminum panel we have prepared, and already provided a curve on it, an angle, because that's the part that's going to go behind the fender actually. Now, the edge is not straight, it's curved. Now, if you look here, it's straight. I need to curve it. Now, curving it is not that simple, because now we have a 90-degree angle here, so one piece will resist the other side. So that's why we will have to shrink one side, and this is the side that we're going to shrink. And therefore I'm using a shrink, which is nothing more than a claw that is going to bring the material together. And I'm just going to do that very gently, not too much in one go, because otherwise this is aluminum, very thin, so you know you're going to get in trouble otherwise with this. Okay. I don't want to do it too much. I do a little bit, and you can see already, see how that is already curving. So we're getting there. But let me go and see and fit it first. So here is my panel that I've been bending on the stretcher, and that should now just fit properly. And let's see. Yeah, here we go. So this is how we're going to stick it on there. Now, as this is thin aluminum, we will be able to bend it wherever we need to bend it. Now, I could use the English wheel on this side here to make this a bit more hollow, because this is really how the shape is. But I don't think that's going to be necessary, because this panel is so thin that we can actually bend it. I think this is where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to tape this and then prepare the holes for it. All right. I'm just going to tape it in place. So, and here it is, the panel is now installed. So this side is now done. Now I need to do the other side. So now that we are done on the sides and in the back, now it's time to fix the front grille, and there is a bit of work on that grille. So here we have the front grille, and as you can see, we have all these little bars in the front. I already took some out on this side. And I'm going to take all of them out because I'm going to replace it with a metal mesh and have the mesh right here. And the reason that I'm going to replace them with a metal mesh is that stones and other objects that are thrown up by the tires of cars in front of me could actually hit my radiator, and my radiator is an aluminum radiator, so it could be punctured because these openings are a bit too big. So with this mace, I will hold those back a bit better. All right, so for that, I need to grind them out, and I also will install a new inlet, and this is one of those inlets. Actually, it's gonna go in like so. See, here you see that, and how we're gonna put that in, because there we're going to connect this flex tube into it, and that's gonna lead to the carburetor. So I'm going to start by grinding out all these little pieces here. And this is a little bit of work because there's a whole raft of them. I got most of them out of it, so now I have to remove the frame because that's a little bit bent, so we need to straighten that up and then we can put it all back together. Okay, so the chrome part will go on the side, but this is the part we really need to straighten up. You can see all the damage on this. I'm going to take it further apart so that we can actually fix this. Alright, I removed all these little metal parts from the grill, and now you can see it's really wide open. I have all the little holes here now where these little pieces were connected to, but that's okay because now I'm gonna cut this maze right here and I'm going to install it right inside that place. Now that isn't all that difficult. There's a couple of ways of doing this. I can actually use a piece of paper to make a template, but I can also just use a pen and run along the contours and then mark that off, and then I just need to cut it and then we can actually lock it into place. So all by all, not very difficult. So I'm not going to waste time by making a paper template. I'm going to start right away with marking that off, and that is not all that difficult. I'll have to put my glasses on because without it I see diddly squat. Now these pieces of metal, the mace, it comes in different sizes and strengths, so I've gone for a fairly fine one. Okay, well that looks almost right. Yeah, I'm just gonna use my pen and trace around it where I need to cut. All right, so I'm just going to cut it all around and then we'll see if it fits. I have the grill now cut out and I placed it on the frame. So now I'm going to use some rivets to rivet it down to the actual frame. You can use something else if you want, but with rivets it works pretty good. So I'm going to do this at regular distances. I think this is a good place to do the next one. And I need to drill it out a little bit to about 4 millimeters. Okay. And that should be good enough. I might actually put a little washer underneath because I want to have a little bit more coverage of the head of the pop rivet, so it holds the grit pretty well in place. And this is how I'm going to do it for the rest of the grid, and then that should look quite all right. If you're going to cut a hole in a grid, it may be sometimes hard to mark it. So I typically put some tape up and then I cut it from the other side, which is already has happened. And for that, I'm just using my pliers to cut it. So now I can actually put my funnel in, and the funnel that needs to go in is right here. So I already made it to size. So now I'm just going to bolt that down and then we should be good to go. So for that, I need to drill a couple of little holes and then a bolt and we should be good. And we do also at the other side. I think that looks good or good enough. So now we can go and basically install it on the car. All right, so the grill is now fitted. Of course, it's not locked down yet, but this is how it's going to look like. You might have noticed that I have painted the grid and I already have attached the funnel. You've seen that before. So now it's just a matter of locking it down, and yeah, then we can continue with the rest. I think this turned out to be quite nice.